Expect another summit between President Trump and Chairman Kim in coming weeks?
예, 그렇습니다. 저는 이번
Well, I would say yes. I traveled to Pyongyang last week and had a very good meeting with Chairman Kim. And through the summit meeting, we had achieved some progress on denuclearization. And I look forward to a summit meeting taking place between Chairman Kim and President Trump in the not-too-distant future.
Before the end of the year?
예, 연대도
Yes, I believe so.
Mr. President, there is concern in the U.S. that maybe too much is being given up before actual denuclearization is happening in North Korea. How do you address that?
There are many skeptical voices as to whether North Korea will actually keep their promise this time. And however, I have to tell you that the agreement that we have right now is actually completely different from what we had in the past. For the first time in history, you have seen the President of the United States and the Supreme Leader of North Korea thresh out an agreement through a summit meeting, and they made a promise in front of the whole world which is binding, and they have lots of responsibility on their shoulders. I believe that this promise will be kept. In terms of North Korea, they can only have sanctions relief after denuclearization is completed, and through this they can have the economic recovery that they are desiring. As for President Trump, he needs to solve the North Korean nuclear problem. This is a problem that nobody had been able to solve in the decades past. So through this, he will be able to have a major achievement.
Which is your top priority, reunification or denuclearization?
My priority is peace, and if we have solid peace, then I believe that unification will come naturally as well. And in order to achieve peace, the prerequisite would be denuclearization.
What is your relationship with President Trump, and how would you describe him?
Ever since my inauguration last May, I had 7 summit meetings with President Trump, as well as more than 20 phone calls. I can tell you that I've become more than a friend with President Trump, and between the two of us, there is absolutely perfect trust. And when you think about what President Trump has accomplished in terms of North Korea's denuclearization, you just have to look at the changes that have been in place during the 9 months ever since last November. And if you compare what President Trump said during his speech at the UN General Assembly last year.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime.
And what he'll be saying today.
Tremendous progress has been made, and I think you're going to see an outcome.
Then you will be able to distinguish the differences. And ever since last November, North Korea has not engaged in any nuclear or missile test or any provocations of this kind. And they have already permanently dismantled the nuclear test site in Punggye-ri. This is actually the only nuclear test site they have, which means that they will not be able to have another nuclear test in the future. And during my summit meeting with Chairman Kim in Pyongyang last week, he also expressed his willingness to permanently dismantle the missile engine test site and the launch platform in Dongchangni under observation of American experts. And when he implements these measures, this will mean that North Korea will not be able to test long-range missiles again. So now all of this means that North Korea will not be able to threaten the United States with their nuclear or missile arsenal. He is actually willing to take additional measures, including the dismantlement of the nuclear bases in Yangbyan. And all of this change that we're witnessing right now was possible because the President of the United States decided to have the first ever summit with the leader of North Korea in 70 years of their history. All of my praise goes to President Trump.
So you give him a lot of credit.
그렇습니다.
Yes.
You've met with Chairman Kim more than most people in the world. How do you describe him? His sensibilities? Is he serious? Do you really believe that he could denuclearize?
Chairman Kim has unwavering trust and expectations for President Trump, and he is also aware that the complete denuclearization of North Korea, such a major feat, can only be achieved by someone like President Trump. So Chairman Kim actually wants to achieve the complete denuclearization of North Korea with President Trump within his first term in office, and he has expressed this commitment, this desire on many occasions too. So in order to make progress, he wants to have the second US-North Korea summit as soon as possible. I would say that Chairman Kim is young, but he's candid, and he also has clear commitment to denuclearization, and he is now ready to abandon his nuclear program and focus on economic development instead in order to help his people. He has this kind of a strategic mind. He is looking forward to achieving complete denuclearization with President Trump and afterwards receive economic assistance.
Do you think that full verifiable denuclearization, the goal of January 2021 that has been talked about, is that realistic?
During my summit meeting in Pyongyang, Chairman Kim mentioned he is willing to have the international inspectors inspect these activities. He said that he's willing to permanently dismantle the related facilities in a verifiable way. So I believe that I have ascertained Chairman Kim's commitment to complete denuclearization. Therefore, now if North Korea takes genuine measures in terms of dismantling their nuclear program, it all comes down to whether the United States is ready to provide corresponding measures in a swift way. For the United States, they promised to end its hostile relations with North Korea, to provide security guarantees and also work towards new US-North Korea relations. So although all these actions would not happen simultaneously, broadly, I believe that these actions need to be taken in parallel. If the United States could provide this kind of trust, I believe that we will be able to accelerate the denuclearization process. This is why I believe that the denuclearization is achievable within the first term of President Trump's term.
Do you trust Chairman Kim? So what we hear from the U.S. administration is that they would like to see things done completely and then pull the sanctions off.
When we say corresponding measures, this doesn't only allude to sanctions relief. We could think about the declaration to end the Korean War, or humanitarian assistance, or the exchanges, the cultural and artistic exchanges, and such kind of non-political exchanges. So we could think about establishing a U.S. liaison office in Pyongyang. By establishing this kind of office, we can show the U.S. commitment to end hostile relations with North Korea and also logistically support the activities of the inspectors. And we could also think about exchanging economic delegations with North Korea. I can tell you that there is nothing to lose for us when we put our trust in North Korea. And the measures that North Korea will be taking will be the permanent dismantlement of nuclear test site, the missile engine test site, nuclear bases, and its existing nuclear arsenal. These are all irreversible measures. However, the measures the United States and the Republic of Korea will be taking would be measures such as the suspension of joint military exercises, which can be resumed at any time, and also the end of war declaration can be revoked any time as well. If North Korea goes back on its promise, then we can put on these sanctions once again. The United States has nothing to lose.
Do you envision seeing one Korea in your lifetime?
Well, it is very difficult to predict when unification will be achieved. We cannot really plan for this kind of thing. I believe that if we establish complete peace, then we will be able to see one day, all of a sudden, the unification come. And I'm hopeful that I'll be able to see it within my lifetime.
You want to see U.S. troops leave sooner rather than later?
I would say no. I can tell you that the U.S. forces in Korea not only is beneficial for our deterrence vis-a-vis North Korea, but also it's playing a linchpin role in terms of upholding peace and stability in the Northeast Asian region as a whole. Even after the peace treaty is signed and even after unification is achieved, I can see the U.S. forces in Korea remain in place for the peace and stability of the Northeast Asian region.
You mentioned the end of war declaration. Do you expect to sign that at this next summit with President Trump?
I had ample discussions with President Trump on this issue during my summit yesterday, and I expect there will be plenty of discussions between President Trump and Chairman Kim in the upcoming U.S.-North Korea summit. It is my desire to sign this as soon as possible to give a symbol that the hostile relations between the United States and North Korea have been ended, and I believe that there is a basic sympathy regarding this view.
I want you, and your critics say that you're undermining free speech there and democratic norms. How do you respond to that?
Well, I can tell you that maybe out of the entire history of the Republic of Korea, the freedom of speech and the freedom of press have never been greater than this time. And even the kind of fake news that you're seeing among the press and among the SNS, they go unpunished as well. And every weekend you can see in the Gwanghwamun Plaza, which is just right in front of my office, you can see the assemblies that heavily criticize me happen every weekend.
Your critics their theory is that you're trying to line South Korea up with North Korea in getting ready for reunification, to the extent of even taking freedom out of textbooks, not tying it to democracy. So you say, in the words of President Trump, that's all fake news.
Our objective of improving relations with North Korea and aspiring for unification is actually the same across all administrations, and our constitution actually prescribes that we need to work towards achieving peaceful reunification with North Korea, and it is one of the prime responsibilities of a president. And as for the people who criticize me, I can tell you that most of them are people who in past administrations had been calling reunification as some kind of a bonanza, but now they are turning on me because the government has changed.